You probably remember a year ago, we had the chance to sit down with you and talk about life, experiences, expectations, seminary. Now just a few days out from your ordination, we wanted to give you the chance to react a little and reflect on what you had to say. So if that's okay with you guys, you can click play and give it a shot.
Ready?
But really the moment that the vocation I really felt was calling out to me was actually at my confirmation at my home parish in 10th grade. And from there, it kind of just continued to grow to the point where I entered seminary.
I first realized that I was called to the priesthood when I was in 2nd grade and after I received my first Holy Communion. And each time I went to Mass, I would always have that devotion to the Eucharist and a fervent love that kept burning inside of me saying, you're going to become a priest, you're going to become a priest.
Looking back on that, I think it's so significant that both of us associate that first calling with the receiving of a sacrament.
It definitely comes with the sacramental grace, and for both of us, it was just that process of accepting the call to the priesthood. And we both accepted it in a different way at different sacraments, but it's that grace of the sacrament which I think has brought us to where we are today.
And now we're getting ready to receive a new sacrament.
A new sacrament, exactly. Beautiful sacrament. As of right now, I have a very particular devotion to Venerable Father Michael J. McGivney, who will soon become Blessed McGivney sometime this year. And the reason being is because of his service to family life and his service to the church, the local church of Hartford. His priestly characteristics and his pastoral zeal and love for the church and love for family life and love for Christ is what helps influence me to want to strive to become a good and holy priest for Hartford.
St. Aloysius Gonzaga. He's my confirmation saint, my patron saint, and he died at a very young age caring for plague victims. So he's kind of nice for this time. Yeah, they're kind of similar in the sense that, you know, it's obviously Aloysius was, as I mentioned, a seminarian, not a priest when he passed, but they both definitely are associated with that whole idea of, you know, following this vocation towards the priesthood in some sense, you know, and complete service as a priest, you know.
Service and striving for holiness and trying to do God's will in their life. And that's what we have to try to do. We have to live up to that expectation of being virtuous, trying to strive for holiness and to bring our people to that holiness.
One thing, a line that always comes to me throughout seminary is God writes straight with crooked lines. So the fact that, you know, you go in expecting that everybody's going to be perfect and you're going to be perfect, but you realize that God takes you where you're at and God will sort of bring you to where you need to be. And so just the fact that everybody's on this continuing journey of reaching that goal.
Yeah, so seminary life, it's not what everyone thinks that it is, where you just go in and you study and you pray all day. It's a lot more than that. And both prayer and fraternity allow you to become an individual, become formed to become a priest for Jesus Christ, knowing that you are going to rely on your brothers in the church, and you're also going to be relying on your own prayer life as well. I like that quote that you said, God writes straight with crooked lines, and perfection. Nobody is perfect in any sort of way whatsoever. And when you go into a seminary, everybody is different. And nobody in seminary is the same. And everyone brings a unique aspect of their life.
More cognizant of the fact of how imperfect we are, you know?
Yeah.
We're approaching this great, you know, this end of this formation process, but at the same time, it's really just like, as we know, a beginning of a whole nother journey.
There are 3 different answers that I want to provide. First off is to always persevere. The second one is to trust in the Lord. And the third is to love yourself, love your family, love those around you, and to love God, because our church is founded on love.
But to bring it to a pastor, bring it to a priest that you trust, that will really help to sort of open up the process and to sort of get you forward. Sometimes we don't want to in our spiritual life, especially we don't want to have to reach out and ask for guidance or ask for assistance or help in this process of discernment. But a lot of times it's just what we need to do, you know.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah, it's hard to discern and make up your mind right then and there. But that's why seminary just is a process. It's a long process that we have to just continue to undertake, and we're just discerning to do whatever God wants us to do.
Yeah, and I like what you said too about perseverance, because I think that's it is so important to persevere, especially in the dark times that will come, to persevere and to continue to listen to the call of God.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
One thing I can't wait for is just to be involved in the lives of the parishioners at the parish that I'll be assigned to really intersect their lives at those most precious moments, whether it's baptism or marriage or funerals, and kind of bring Christ into those moments.
As I progress in my formation, and God willing, next year around this time I'll be ordained a priest, I'm really looking forward to offering the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass and giving Christ to others the same way that I began my own vocation of receiving Jesus in the sacrament of the Holy Eucharist. That was one thing that I appreciate what you just said, was you got to be with the people, and I think that's important because we have to smell like the sheep. We have to not feel like we're so entitled to this. We got to be with them and learn from them as they will learn from us.
So that's looking back on that for me too, because over this past year I've had the opportunity to sort of fulfill that in a certain sense, obviously not as a priest, but to be able to be in the parishes and in Manchester and West Simsbury, to be able to do a little bit of what I was looking forward to intersect people's lives at those crucial moments, especially in this last year of pandemic. There's been a lot of crucial moments in people's lives. So
Right, and just to be that bridge for the people of God, to be that mediator.
So thank you guys for being willing to look back on all these different clips. As we watched, a few other questions came to mind. After the experiences of this past year, how are you both different compared to when you were interviewed just a year ago?
I would say one thing that the last year taught me, and that I've definitely grown in during this last year as a deacon, is just an awareness of how much we have as human beings this need to be interconnected and to reach out, socially, and to have those social bonds that, whether it's family or friendships, things that the parish life that kind of connects us with each other and ultimately connects us as a community with God.
We have to continue to strive to want to be together, strive to want to be shepherds of God, to lead his people together and not act like we are divided. But as well as just seeing how much this year as a deacon has just changed us, changed both of us, emotionally, physically, spiritually. I think we've grown so much over this past few years, and I think that we just have to thank God for everything that he's done in that way, and growing in virtue, growing in that life of holiness.
Just days away from ordination, simple question. How does it feel?
I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited, nervous, a lot of mixed emotions, but I think that we're going to make out well. A lot of the people who I've talked to have really just been encouraging and said you're going to make really good priests, and that's what I pray for. So.
Yeah, for me it feels like just the beginning of an adventure. Obviously the adventure already started when we were baptized, when we first received our vocation and we went to the seminary, but now I think you would agree, there's a certain sense of, you feel it's really kind of, there's this new beginning in a certain sense of, okay, now we're going to get to sort of enter into this ministry full force and sort of see what happens, especially at a very uncertain times in our world, but there's definitely this great sense of adventure that we're going to be taking up in just a couple days, so it's exciting.
And last question. Looking back on this journey, you'll be ordained together, you'll be classmates for a long time, but any favorite memories so far?
I'm thinking back to, I think one of our experiences that really kind of brought us together as a class of two last year was when we did our, when I had to do my canonical retreat before diaconate ordination, and because it was COVID times, we went to, we were sort of in a little rectory, and it was sort of but that was it was an important time, obviously, of prayer and spiritual preparation for the diaconate ordination, but also it was a good time for us to
to get to know each other.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the first time which I realized it was when we were, a few years ago, when we were with Father Jeff Gubbiotti and who was the vocation director, and we actually played a game of setback with Father Federico and Father Gubbiotti. And you and I were partners, and the game just kept going back and forth to see who was going to win. We were up until like 11 o'clock at night playing this game.
But we did win.
And we did win. We did win. And I said to myself, that's the guy who I want as my classmate.
There you go.
He's someone who I'm going to want to be a priest with. And look where we are now.